Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Stargate topic video. I know it's been a while. My hard drive broke again, and I lost so much of the projects I had been working on or had filed away. And YouTube and MGM still refuse to let me publish the Spirits Lore video. Hence, why I'm using game footage so I can actually post this video. While my life continues to spiral down the toilet, we of the Stargate fandom have been blessed by Joseph Mallozzi, who on Twitter, or X if you want to be lame about it, posted a tweet outlining what would have been the sixth season of Stargate Atlantis. And since I am a Stargate YouTuber who hasn't made anything in a bit, I thought I'd give my 2 cents on it. The first two episodes would have been a two-parter based on the proposed Stargate movie Extinction, where time travel would have stranded our heroes in the Triangulum Galaxy, where they encountered a curious civilization as well as a future version of everyone's favorite Wraith Todd. With the help of present day Todd, the heroes managed to turn the tables on their enemy and resume their journey to Pegasus. I really want to know what this curious civilization was and what made them so curious. Since we were dealing with time travel, is this a future version of humanity from Earth who have colonized the stars? Was this an alien civilization? Since Todd was there, was this some wraith who had left for another galaxy? Just what makes them curious? I feel like I'm going to get a bunch of "it's the furlings" in the comments. Though sadly, we will never get an answer to this. On that note, this post in and of itself is kind of sad when you think about it, since the only reason you would post this is if you assume these ideas are being abandoned by a certain company and will never be seen on screen, but maybe I'm just being a negative Nancy. Moving on, the next set of episodes seem to be episodic in nature, with an episode about kids in stasis on a ship with a possible dark past, a flashback episode to the early days of the Atlantis expedition, and even a story from the POV of a red shirt, or Stargate's equivalent to one. All these episodes sound fun. I would have loved to see how just your average Joe soldier would have viewed the events of Stargate if they weren't the main cast. Like the episode of TNG Lower Decks. Another goodie I saw was one in which Shepard, while visiting an alien planet, gets bad luck from one of the locals. I don't know why, but the idea of this just brings a smile to my face. I think it's because they sound like good standalone story ideas, which for a while were becoming hard to find. I'm sure you've all heard this before, but not that long ago, and arguably still going on, so many TV shows felt they had to have this overarching story, cutting out the more slice of life or wacky hijinks episodes. I think the writers, studios, and producers have recognized this and are starting to bring these back. But reading the descriptions of some of these episodes just reminds me of that. And it's one of the reasons I love Stargate. I'm not going to cover each one, but something I did want to cover before we get to some of the bigger revelations is that for some reason, like 5 to 6 episodes involve some kind of time travel or flashback. I have no idea why this is. Was there some big time travel thing going on around that time I can't recall? But one of them sounded awesome, where one of McKay's experiments goes wrong and he sends duplicate versions of the team both backwards and forwards in time. So you have three timelines going on. One team is stuck 5 years in the past and they struggle to try and get a puddle jumper without altering the timeline. One team is stuck 5 years in the future where the aliens introduced in the Delos variations are attacking Atlantis. This team is also looking for a puddle jumper, but their plans to go back in time and warn their past selves. So they're actively trying to alter the timeline. And finally, one in the present that deals with these time influencing events. I would have loved this episode in particular for two reasons. The way they would have handled the time travel in it just sounds really cool, with the past, future, and present all getting mind fucked with all the stuff going on. Again, I'm reminded of the TNG episode, the last one, where Picard keeps shifting into different points in his life in this universe, ending black hole that is growing backwards in time or something. In fact, they sound so similar, I wonder if that's where they got the idea from. Second is the inclusion of the Deadless aliens. It would have been so cool to see them again and know they were not a one-off race. Though I do wonder what origin these guys would have been given. I'd make a video for Gateworld about it, which you can find here if you want to find out more information on their origins. Okay, I think that's all the minor stuff. Let's get to some of the bigger stuff. Like the return of three characters. Also, spoilers for a season that will never be made. Okay, ready? Three of the people returning would have been Michael, Ford, and Weir. Out of the three, Michael's return is the one I'm the most iffy on. Since the last time we saw him, he fell to his death, so somehow he returned, creating a virus that turned the Atlantis expedition into hybrids, and it's now up to the team to stop him. It sounds like a cool idea for an episode, and I will admit it does sound like a better final episode for him than his actual one, where he infiltrated Atlantis trying to steal Taylor's son. But again, we saw him die, I mean, kind of, and bringing him back just feels weird because of how many times we see characters die in Stargate, only to somehow return later. Even the books knew to let him stay dead. And this isn't an argument about how the books are the true ending or better canon or something, but it's more like in Stargate, death has so little meaning that it's kind of nice to have a character die and stay dead. As for Ward and Weir coming back, yeah, not too surprising. The books brought both these characters back, and funny enough, the comics brought Weir back as well. So she has like, what, three returns now, if we count this one? Though that aside, this honestly does make me happy because I always hated what they did to Weir. Like, they just left her stranded out in space forever when she came back as a replicator. And personally, I always thought that was such a dick move. Like, what the hell, guys? That's your friend. Like, you're really just gonna leave her out in space forever? This also, in my opinion, leads to the funniest thing in this post. We get to see a script of Weir coming back and having a conversation with the team. And as they talk, Weir asks how long she's been gone, and Rodney says they're still airing new episodes of Supernatural. And Weir's response is, "Oh, I must not have been gone all that long then." And everyone shares this look. I find this the funniest thing because if you don't know, Supernatural aired for a long ass time. It aired from 2005 to 2020. That's like 15 years. Not even SG1 lasted that long. And what I find really funny about this is that you could have told this joke 4 or 5 years ago and it would have been accurate. I also find it funny because someone told me that as a hobbyist writer, they felt this line was just thrown in and they would have gone back to it later. Just something about that makes it so much more funnier to me. Like they knew they wanted to use that joke, so they just threw it in and not knowing it would last that much longer. Okay, last thing I want to bring up was the major story beats for this season. We learned that a black market of ancient tech has started, and the source is a group of rogue Janai led by Kola, who survived, so there's another person they brought back from the dead. He's taking control of the tower, Atlantis' sister city. While they were unable to stop him, they did learn there's a ZPM factory on Atlantis, which leads to them finding out about Atlantean storehouses where they find Weir, who is able to help them find certain weapons made to fight city ships. The season would have ended with Koila attacking Atlantis with big battles and big character moments, with surprising aid coming from Todd and his Wraith, ultimately resulting in the destruction of the other city ship. The season would have ended with the humans and Wraith achieving an understanding and pieces brought to the Pegasus galaxy. Out of everything stated for the ending, I find the understanding between humans and Wraith the most interesting. Stargate sort of has this weird tendency to go full exterminate on its enemies. The Goa'uld had nearly been wiped out, both forms of the replicators are gone, and there's only one Ori left. So the fact that Atlantis was going to end without wiping out the Wraith, I thought was really cool, especially since I heard some rumors that that was the original plan. I have a whole video planned out as to why I find the Wraith the most human faction out of the rest. So I won't spoil that, but that's just kind of nice to hear that the season wasn't going to end with the extermination of the Wraith because I like the Wraith and I especially like Todd. I don't really have much else to say about this post. This sounds like it would have been a really interesting final season for Atlantis, and I really wish we would have gotten it. Not to knock the books and comics and how they dealt with the end, but this just felt more like what would have happened. Probably because it was made by the people who actually made the show. The only sad part, like I said earlier, is that since Joseph Mallozzi made this post, it kind of means that any plans for a continuation of Atlantis, or at least this version, is not going to happen. Granted, it's been 15 years, but recently we've gotten series that do come in and like conclude a series that ended like years ago, so it's not unprecedented. Still, it's kind of sad because what this most likely means that Amazon is going in a different direction than what the writers wanted to do. I mean, they dropped the script Brad made before COVID, and as far as I know, I've stopped talking to him. Still, I'm glad we got this post, and I hope we get more like it in the future. Thank you, Joseph Malazzi, for this post, and I will see you all next time.